Missouri is one of the most underrated states in the United States for roller coasters. As of 2020, the state is home to 28 roller coasters, 6 wooden ones and 22 steel ones. 82% of those coasters are located at the state's 3 largest parks in Six Flags St. Louis, Silver Dollar City, and Worlds of Fun. But beyond those 3 mega parks, you also have a few kiddie coasters scattered about and 2 mountain coasters in the Branson area. And I have been fortunate enough to have ridden every single coaster in the state of Missouri, except the Runaway Mine Train at Miner Mike's Adventure Town. So today, I'm going to rank every single coaster in the state of Missouri from worst to best that I have personally ridden. Kicking off this list is number 27 in the Grand Exposition Coaster at Silver Dollar City. The worst kiddie coaster in the state of Missouri can be found at Silver Dollar City. While the coaster looks nice, these Zamperla kiddie coasters are fairly rough and uncomfortable for adults. 26 is the Cosmic Coaster at Worlds of Fun. Whereas the Grand Exposition Coaster is uncomfortable, the Cosmic Coaster is quite smooth. It may be boring, but at least it doesn't beat you up. 25. The Incredible Spin Coaster at St. Louis's Incredible Pizza Company. The lone SPF Savisa spinner in the entire state is extra dizzying since it's located in an arcade. But I hope you have a strong stomach because this ride has a really long cycle and you're required to patronize the all-you-can-eat pizza buffet to gain access to this coaster. 24. Python Pit at Power Play Family Entertainment Center. Missouri's best kiddie coaster can be found at a former Best Buy location. And this kiddie coaster is a genuinely fun time. The coaster is located in a dark room with chaser lights, and it even has theming alongside the course. 23. Boomerang at Six Flags St. Louis. The first adult coaster on this list is a Vekoma Boomerang. While I do love the ride's location on a hill, it gives a sweet view of the entire park. This particular Boomerang is among the rougher ones out there because it uses aerodynamics trains as opposed to Vekoma ones. 22. Boomerang at Worlds of Fun. This Boomerang seems to have an inordinate amount of downtime. It has been closed for most of my 2 visits at Worlds of Fun. But it is among the smoother Boomerangs out there. And unlike the one across the state, this one actually uses the Vekoma trains. 21. Thunderation at Silver Dollar City. I know many consider this to be one of the best mine train coasters out there, and it really should be since it's located on a heavily wooded hillside. But this is among the roughest mine trains out there. The ride really builds up a lot of speed as you carve your way down the hill, but you feel way too many bumps to count along the course. Number 20. Ninja at Six Flags St. Louis. I should begin by saying that I'm lucky enough that my ears clear the over-the-shoulder restraint. If I were shorter, I would have a much different opinion on Ninja. This coaster does not have the best transitions, but the first drop does give a decent pop of airtime, the vertical loop is quite forceful, and the head chopper with the chain return on the Sidewinder is arguably the most terrifying head chopper in the world. It comes really close to you and you don't see it coming. Number 19. Spinning Dragons at Worlds of Fun. One of the first Gerstlauer spinners is an enjoyable family ride. The coaster is smooth and the spinning keeps it enjoyable for thrill seekers. Just beware the queue line this coaster attracts, it's easily the worst wait in the entire park. 18. Pandemonium at Six Flags St. Louis. A mirrored image of Spinning Dragons, I give Pandemonium the nod because of its wooded setting. The proximity of the trees makes the spinning extra effective in my opinion. Number 17. River King Mine Train at Six Flags St. Louis. For the most part, this mine train is a leisurely journey through the woods. But if you're riding in the back, you get a wicked pop of ejector airtime in the last drop. It's one of the more surprising airtime moments out there if you ask me, because it doesn't match the rest of the coaster. 16. Screamin' Eagle at Six Flags St. Louis. Based on my first visit to Six Flags St. Louis, this coaster would have placed in the top 5 in this list. It was running really fast that year and had lots of airtime. But based on my most recent visit, Screamin' Eagle was running quite slow. I do still love the coaster's setting among the trees, and there still were some good airtime moments on the turnarounds, but the bunny hills just didn't deliver anything this year. 15. Timberwolf at Worlds of Fun. Fun fact, this was actually the top rated wooden coaster in the world in 1992. Over the next few decades, Timberwolf was neglected and it turned into one of the roughest wooden coasters out there. The Band-Aid solution was to add trim brakes, but it was still quite bumpy. Fortunately, Cedar Fair has been retracting this coaster in recent years, so now it's a pretty comfortable experience and you do get some nice airtime moments between the trim brakes. 14. The Branson Coaster. The first alpine coaster on this list is the first one out there to feature 2 lift hills. I understand why this was done, but I much prefer the versions that give you one long, continuous downhill segment, as opposed to the segmented ride the Branson Coaster offers. While the first half has some pretty egregious auto braking, the second half is quite fast with some nice laterals and even a pop of airtime. Number 13. Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City. Half dark ride, half coaster, Fire in the Hole is a really interesting experience. The dark ride segment is a bit dated, but the physical sets are still pretty good. But the highlight of this ride is the finale, which consists of not 1, not 2, but 3 drops that give some pretty solid airtime in the back row due to the minimalistic restraint system. Number 12. Mamba at Worlds of Fun. Mamba is a tale of 2 halves. The first half is great. You have some nice floater airtime, and the turnaround section is pretty forceful. But the mid-course trim ruins the second half. You come to an almost dead halt, and all those bunny hills that look like they should provide airtime offer none whatsoever. Wild Thing at Valley Fair had the same problem when I rode it. Number 11. American Thunder at Six Flags St. Louis. This compact GCI is smooth and has a large quantity of airtime, but the quality of that airtime is lacking. American Thunder just feels slow, hence why the airtime is weaker than all the other GCIs. That's also why the pacing isn't quite there. 10. The Runaway at Branson Mountain Adventure. The best mountain coaster in Branson is the Runaway. Unlike the aforementioned Branson coaster, the Runaway is one continuous downhill segment, and it's among the longer mountain coasters in America as well. This version is a bit bumpy, but it has a spectacular wooded setting with several pops of airtime, including 2 double downs. Number 9. Patriot at Worlds of Fun. Arguably the weakest B&M invert, Patriot isn't a bad ride by any means. It just doesn't have the intensity of the other inverts. Patriot is still very enjoyable though, as it's glossy smooth and it has a bit of a unique layout. You start with the usual flow of inversions, but the second half is broken up by a helix, camelback, turnaround, and bunny hill to complement the standard corkscrew. Number 8. Wildfire at Silver Dollar City. Is there a coaster out there with a better setting? The views from Wildfire are spectacular. Make sure you ride Wildfire in the back row, as you get some incredible airtime in the first drop. It feels more like the drop on a B&M Hypercoaster than a multi-looper. And the rest of the ride is decent too. It's glass smooth, but the inversions aren't the most forceful. The most forceful moment on this ride is actually the turn into the brake run, as it pulls some decent G's from the compactness. Number 7. The Boss at Six Flags St. Louis. This monstrous wooden coaster has a wonderful setting in the woods, and it combines large drops with fast low to the ground turns. Those big drops give some great airtime in the back row, and the high speed turns are ripe with laterals. My biggest issue with this coaster is how the mid-course brings you to a halt. If you ran through that brake run uninhibited, Boss would truly be special. But as it stands, the second half starts off really slow. You feel like you're in a valley on the turnaround after the mid-course, and I think this is why the ride has a minimum rider requirement. But you do regain your speed by the end of the second half, and those final few bunny hills offer the strongest pops of airtime on the entire ride. Number 6. Prowler at Worlds of Fun. In 2018, Prowler was extremely bumpy, but I'm glad to say that Worlds of Fun recently performed track work on this GCI, so now it's running quite smoothly. The coaster is the predecessor to Mystic Timbers as it follows a similar layout. I love this coaster's wooded setting, and while it holds its speed well, the airtime isn't quite as strong as some of GCI's other coasters, but you ride Prowler for that pacing. It's great in that department. Number 5. Batman the Ride at Six Flags St. Louis. The original inverted layout is still among the most forceful. My legs are always numb by the time we hit the brake run. The forces on the vertical loops, corkscrews, and helix are incredible. The only knock against Batman is that this layout has been cloned so many times, so it's never a unique ride experience for me. But it always is a highly enjoyable experience. And to be honest, I think the St. Louis version may be the best one out there. Number 4. Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast at Six Flags St. Louis. This Premier Rides launch coaster is a cool ride, pun intended. It's rare to get a backwards launch from a dead stop, but that's exactly what Mr. Freeze delivers. And it's followed by the mind-bending inverted top hat. The sensations this element delivers are downright bizarre. This disorienting element will throw off your equilibrium. You start with some forceful G's at the base, and then you get some funky hang time at the apex. But the best hang time can be had in the reverse spike. The booster launch is another element that'll mess with your head, but it results in some of the best sustained hang time of any coaster. And since you repeat the course going forwards, you get to experience that awesome inverted top hat yet again. Number 3. Powder Keg at Silver Dollar City. This is one of the most underrated launch coasters in the world if you ask me. Powder Keg's launch may not look like much, 0 to 53 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds, but this compressed air launch coaster packs a mighty punch. This launch feels like an intimate accelerator coaster. The launch is so strong that it always causes my stomach to drop. That's a sensation only rides like Accelerator can do. But beyond that launch, you have some fantastic sustained airtime on the camelbacks, some strong laterals on the old Buzzsaw Falls portion, and a really odd finale that lets you experience the old drop on Buzzsaw Falls. In many ways, this coaster feels like an amalgamation of misfit toys, but it just works in my opinion. Number 2. Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City. The world's first extreme spinning coaster is a really cool experience. And while the spinning is really more like a gradual rotation, this element creates a lot of re-rideability, as the elements can feel quite different depending upon how you take them. You start with that crazy vertical drop out of the station, and if you're in the back car, you get some of the wildest ejector airtime of any coaster, because you're often turned on your side for this drop. But beyond that, Time Traveler offers some good hang time in the inversions, some solid launches if your car spins during them, and a few underrated airtime moments, most notably the Wicked S-Hill midway through the ride. Plus, the mock trains are incredibly comfortable, and this coaster has some really cool theming. But number 1 is also Silver Dollar City, and that would be Outlaw Run. Not only is Outlaw Run the best coaster in all of Missouri, but it's one of my favorite coasters in the entire world. Outlaw Run has the best setting of almost any coaster. It's located on a hillside deep in the woods. You feel extremely isolated during the ride, and that's especially true if you can get lucky enough to experience this coaster at night. You cannot see a thing once the sun sets. After getting insane ejector airtime on the first drop, Outlaw Run hauls through the entire layout. Riders get a mix of powerful ejector airtime and sideways airtime before climbing back up the hill on the ride's signature double barrel roll. And you get some great hang time on the barrel roll. In general, Outlaw Run is a masterpiece. So those are my favorite coasters in the entire state of Missouri. What are your favorite coasters in Missouri? I'd love to hear your comments down below. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe for more countdowns here at Canobie Coaster.